Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for March 16th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today to update you on everything that's happening on the Big Brother Canada 8 live feeds. It was day 16 in the house, and it was an interesting one. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about everything that happened. You can join us live in the chat on YouTube. We're live in all the places and the things, so check it all out. And we'll get there. You can ask me questions in the chat if you want. Be my co-host for the day. But we've got some stuff to talk about here on the live feeds. Sheldon is our HOH. He won the HOH. He nominated Maddie and Rianne for eviction. He has then the veto was won by Maddie and JL as a pair. Maddie is going to take herself off the block. JL is safe, and our guy here, Sheldon, has decided that he wants to backdoor Min as the target for the week here. So that's where we stood as of yesterday at the beginning of the day, and we're gonna get into what happened during the day. So let's do it. We started the day with Maddie and Ree. They are talking about Min going up. So Rianne has been told, Maddie has been told, Min is going up on the block. They've mainly been told by Carol, and a lot of people have been approaching Ree in particular about trying to draw Ree in, trying to court her to their side, right? So they talk about this. Ree says, yeah, everyone has been kissing our ass because they know that we're staying, right? Like, now everyone's coming to us. So Rhea is aware of what's going on here and why everyone is trying to come to them with all this stuff. Maddie wants to know from Rhea, how do you feel about Carol and this whole thing that she's proposing? Carol is essentially proposing, let's make the pretty boys, but with girls. It's us. It's, you, Maddie, you, Rianne, me, Carol, and we'll add Vanessa to the mix. Rianne says, you know what? We need the numbers, so we should go in with them. But the premise of this alliance, I'm not sure I agree with. Carol wants to go after Kyle. I don't think I want to go after Kyle. I don't know if I do. I kind of feel like, is Kyle coming for us? I don't think he is. He's going for Jamar. That's fine with us, right? Like, who cares if he's going after Jamar? It's not us. Why would we go after Kyle? So she kind of feels like, I don't want to bother with Kyle. And so she's been thinking, and she's thinking, originally I was thinking I want Chris out. Chris is the one I hate. So what I'm thinking is I gotta kiss the crap out of Sheldon's ass, and not put him on the block, because what I'm thinking is, here's what I want to do. I want to put Chris on the block, and then, you know what? I'm thinking, just use Vanessa as a pawn, right? Vanessa as a pawn next to Chris, to take Chris out of the game. And Maddie's like, I like that. Because she had originally been thinking she would put Sheldon on the block next to Chris. But now that Sheldon is proposing these things and going after Min and all of that stuff, she's thinking, I'll play nice with Sheldon for now, and I'll put Vanessa on the block next to Chris. And so Maddie's like, yes, I agree with that. I know that Vanessa is trying to work with us or whatever, but there's just something about her. I don't trust her. I just don't. There's something there. I don't know. I can't trust Vanessa. So I agree. Let's put Vanessa on the block as a pawn. Who knows if this will stick, but it's definitely interesting to see where their head is at. Brooke is going to have a conversation with Ree. she says, "Look, I want to work with you, with you." And Rihanna's like, "Yes, I want to work with you and Shell." They thought that she thought that they were working with Kyle and Chris and Vanessa, and that's why there was tension. She kind of thought that Sheldon was on board with them, but she kind of sees that that's maybe not as much the case, which is, of course, not really true, but it's what she's thinking at the time. Rihanna says she understands that everyone in this position would have done the same thing this week, that there was an easy move to make, and she doesn't take it personally. You got to give credit to Rihanna and Maddie this week for taking the nomination so well. Sheldon is a guy who does not operate on a personal level, right? And so if he tells you, look, I'm sorry, I have to put you on the block, it's the easy thing for me to do, it just makes sense for my game. The thing he wants to hear from people is, I get it, it's a game. You're making the right move for yourself. This doesn't mean that the right move for me later on is going to be to go after you. And because of that, because they're able to take this well and not respond in an irrational way, which Sheldon would not like, that is opening the door for Sheldon to take this other option, which is to backdoor Min. So they deserve credit for that. It's one of those things. It's like, it's not really like a flashy move. It's not really like great gameplay, but it's avoiding bad gameplay. It's avoiding mistakes, which is that's a tactic, right? Like when a lot of people are bad at the game, just avoiding those bad things can do you wonders in the game, right? So you know, it should be noted here. So Sheldon is going to talk with Brooke, Sue, and Hira about the plan. Hira is pretty satisfied with Min going up on the block. He feels like, okay, Min, he thinks that Min is working with Kyle and all of this, but now it's okay. They're going to be gunning for Kyle next week. That's what Hira feels. Well, next week we're gunning for Kyle, so it's okay. We'll take out Min this week. We'll make it work. Carol is going to talk with Maddie. They talk about coming together again. This sort of Carol approaching them about the pretty boys kind of deal. Carol says, "I promise you, Vanessa will backdoor Kyle. I promise you, it will happen." And Maddie's like, "Oh, but I want to do it." And Carol says, "But this is the thing. You cannot tell JL about this. You can't tell him. I know that you're close with him, but he's close with Sheldon. He's close with other people. And I know that I don't think he'll betray you, Maddie, but I think that he doesn't have any loyalty to me. And so he might throw me or Vanessa under the bus. So please, don't tell Jean-Luc. Don't tell anybody about this. We need to keep this on the down low." And Maddie's like, "Okay, yes, I agree." So Maddie is then going to go to Rhea again and say, I don't know, I think I like this thing with Carol. I think we can make this work. Carol's like the eyes and ears. She's got all this information. So I think this could be valuable. Sheldon is going to have a conversation with Brooke. Sheldon is worried about, this was an interesting conversation. Sheldon's worried about what happens if Kyle goes home. Because basically what he's been thinking about is, okay, if somebody like Jamar or Hira wins, they go after Kyle goes home, I'm the next biggest target. Like, he's thinking from my perspective, right? Like, I just know as soon as Kyle goes home, who do people start to look at? It's you and me, Brooke. I just know it. I mean, that's exactly what I would do if I was in their position. And then Brooke is like, I get that, but when you actually look at the individual players, I'm not sure that's the case. Like think about it, right? And Shell's like, you know what? You're kind of right there. Like, Jams would never flip on us. Hero would never flip on us. Carol would never flip on us. That one's wrong. JL would never flip on us. It's just Rhea. Rhea is the one we need to worry about. She would flip on us. So yeah. I don't know. And so this was an interesting conversation because it really, again, sort of points out, right, identifies this weakness in Sheldon's game where he's thinking about the logical response to if Kyle goes out, what happens? Who becomes the next biggest target? What's going on in that scenario? And he's thinking on a purely logical basis. He's thinking about how, if Kyle's gone, he just straight up is the next biggest target. And that is valuable. That is a valuable way of thinking. You need to have that mode in your brain if you want to play effectively. But he's so focused on it that he's forgetting the individual part of it. He's forgetting the actual humans involved and their emotions, and the fact that people like Jamar are so loyal that that Jamar is not going to turn on him even if Kyle is gone. Jamar is just that kind of player, and those are really valuable kinds of players. They're valuable. Rational players that you can predict are also valuable. But you need to have a combination of both. And Sheldon has displayed that he is much more likely to drop the person that is emotional, that is still on his side, for the person that is rational, who is on his side. So I just a little interaction there that I really felt like highlights the Sheldon game here. So the feeds go down for a while, and there's some speculation that they are being told about the virus while this is happening. One theory that I had been thinking about in terms of like why haven't they been told yet was, a lot of people were wondering, like, well, if they're told, like, won't they be worried? Won't they want to leave the game so that they can be with their families or whatever? And so I'd been thinking maybe they haven't told them yet because they're like gathering together the right message. They're they're talking with the families. They're making sure that the families have messages for them. It appears that might have been the case here, because while the feeds are down, they are told about the virus. The producers tell them about what's happening. They were very worried at first. They were very concerned because it sounds very scary when you hear about it and you're isolated and you have no idea what's happening other than the fact that things are just being canceled left and right. I mean, it must be terrifying. It's scary enough in real life. But they're able to sort of explain the situation and what's happening in Italy, and they all got letters from their families explaining that, hey, we're all okay. Don't be worried about us. Please stay in the game. Essentially, everything's fine. It's okay. It's a scary situation, but we're all okay. So don't worry. So they all got letters from home. When the feeds come up, they're all carrying letters around, and it's kind of a somber mood. There are a lot of people who were thinking, okay, what happens with Carol when Carol is told about this? Carol, who already wanted to quit. So, like, is she going to just leave? Carol is okay. In fact, she was one of the people who handled this pretty well. She got a letter from home from her wife, and her wife essentially said to her in the letter, stay in the game. Do not quit, which I think this situation is actually going to be making it even less likely that Carol quits the game, having heard from her wife, who's telling her, stick it out, don't quit, stay in the game. So Carol is feeling very motivated to stay in the game at this point. She feels fine. Hira, who also has a child, is also okay. When the feeds came back, he was talking with Sue, and Sue was actually more upset than he was. He was comforting her, trying to like cheer her up in any way that he could. Sue's letter was like 3 sentences long, and so she was feeling a little unloved in that moment. And so he was trying to cheer her up a bit, if however he could. So he's doing all right. Kyle, though, who has children, Kyle was taking it a bit harder, and he was very worried. Kyle said that the second they mentioned the virus, that he immediately stood up, like ready to leave. Just he was ready to go, and before they were able to be like, no, it's okay. Here's messages from your family. Like, we'll answer your questions, so on and so forth. And so he is staying in the house for now, but he was very upset and scared when he first heard it, and it brought up a lot of emotions. And so we actually got a conversation between Sheldon and Kyle, which was really, really interesting and pretty touching. Despite your feelings on them in the game or personally, human moments like this are part of why the show is so good. And so I recommend you check out this conversation between Sheldon and Kyle, especially, coming from Sheldon, who's just such a robot, and who knew I would ever be somebody who's call somebody a robot. But Sheldon is talking to Kyle, and essentially just telling him how much he means to him and how much he respects him. He says, look, Kyle, you're silly, you're aggressive, you're self-aware, you're all of those things at once. You know how much I care about the game, so I'm only going to say this once. Here, hold on, I'll get my Sheldon voice on a little bit more. But I want you to know that what happens in this game, the best part of this for me will be meeting people that I enjoyed and enjoyed doing this with. I'm not taking that for granted. As a man, you have my respect. I know you're not perfect. You've made mistakes, but we've all made mistakes. But I respect you. You're the man. I don't have something to tell everybody. I talked to Brooke, and I told her what I told her was very different than what I told you. Even in real life, if you ever want to kick it as bros, I'm here for you. And I just wanted you to know that. Kyle, this whole time, is like sniffling. He's like crying. And he responds, he's just like, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. I go through life with people telling me I need to act differently or be differently, that I'm too much of this or too much of that. And I just don't get a lot of compliments in life, dude. I mean every word of it. I would not say it if I didn't mean it. He's like, look, dude, I love being around you because you're everything I wish I could be. You're level-headed, intelligent, well-spoken. You're a real man, and you're like a man I want my son to look up to be. I really look up to you a lot. I know how you carry yourself as a man outside of here, and I've learned a lot from you about how to act, how to speak, and how to approach situations. Stuff I've learned from you, I'm going to take back to my kids, and I'm going to show them through action, through character, that you're an example of like what you want your kids to grow up to be. Not drinking, not having unhealthy stuff, not putting people down, lifting people up. You have those characteristics. You can have those characteristics and still be a stone cold killer. I love you, dude. I don't even know how to describe it to you. You're a special person to me in this game. There's so many lies going on. I take so much heat in here, and it's hard, and I know you've got my back, and you mean the world to me, so thank you for saying all of that. And then Sheldon just kind of goes in for like a bro hug. It's like, yeah, I love you, man. I love you too. It's a nice moment. It really is. Practice empathy, people. Sheldon leaves, and Kyle just ends up sobbing in the Expedia room for a while. So he's sobbing, like hard sobbing. Also, they're no longer on Slop, the have-nots, so he's sobbing and then like taking a bite of a muffin and then sobbing some more, which was a little funny. I mean, look, it's a scary thing. They're in the house. They've heard about this stuff. This really brought up the sort of human side to the people playing this game. And I think it was a reminder to them that this is just a silly game on a silly show. And there's a lot of real life stuff happening, and they're all just people. And it's always good to be reminded of that. like I said, practice empathy. It's doesn't hurt you. It only helps. So Sheldon is then going to talk with Maddie. Maddie says that, again, she understands the position that he was in this week. She respects his decision. She is not coming for him in the game. Shell says that he thinks Min is the right call here. He doesn't think that that people like Mike or Ree should be leaving the game this early, right? Like, and Maddie's like, yeah, exactly. Why did Mike have to go? And he's like, yeah, that was a bad call. So again, Maddie doing good work here with Sheldon. Sheldon talks to Brooke again. Let me tell you, I leave out a lot of the Sheldon and Brooke conversations. They talk so often about so many things, and it's usually just going around in circles about the game. But man, do they talk a lot. So Sheldon and Brooke talk. Sheldon's like, I've just been thinking about like who's feeling comfortable right now. Like, I was thinking like JL is in a really good spot right now. Like, he was on the outs, but now I feel like he's in one of the best spots. Sue is in a good spot for now. And they're just kind of talking about, like, who's actually... Like, they're basically doing the stock watch, right? As a preview. Yeah, JL is in a pretty decent position right now. So is Sue, right? So... Shell says that... and I thought this was interesting, too. Shell was like, man, our cast is just, like... 2 people too strong. Like, what is up with this? Why are we on the cast of like all of these strong players who are so strong-willed? Like, there should not be a cast of Jams, Kyle, me, Brooke, you, Brooke, Min, Michael, like all of these people. Like, it was too many. Usually there's a bunch of sheep in the house. What's going on? Why did we get this season? And Brooke's like, yeah, but at least, it's good competition. If we win, that's you can't use that argument against us. He's like, yeah, I guess so. So I thought that was a funny conversation because they're so meta. Like, again, I talked about this last week that Sheldon said, we are the villains. I'm sure people hate us. And at the time, people were like, oh, we don't hate you, Sheldon. But like, that's because he knew who he was, and as soon as he got power, people started hating him. So he did kind of know this was coming. Anyway, Sheldon and JL are bonding quite a bit over the day, over the last few days. There's not like a ton of specific game-changing talk going on there, but I do think that it's important to point out that that JL is continuing to talk with Sheldon often and just hang out with him socially. Really one of the few people that Sheldon is hanging out with socially other than Brooke. And so... like, this is important to know because JL is safe. JL is safe right now. He doesn't need to suck up to Sheldon anymore, but he is still going up there. He's going up there with his orange pop. They've got a bag of marshmallows and they're popping them down and they're just hanging out. Sheldon's like, man, I feel like I should have a remote in my hand and that I should be turning a TV on so that we would be hanging out and watching TV together. But it's they don't have a TV. But worth noting that it does seem like JL is actually with Sheldon and Brooke. I've mentioned this before, but I do really feel like this is the case here now that that JL seems to be with them. So that's going on there, and then we get to so what's been going on here is that Sheldon has basically told everybody in the house now that Min is going up on the block as a replacement. They're all on board, and none of them are telling Min about it. Sheldon plans on telling Min about it, but after the events of the day, she seems to have been having a really bad day, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. It's just not a good time to tell her now. However, Min decided to approach Sheldon late into the night, and she wanted to ask him some questions. And so we're gonna end up here with a late night revelation of what's going to happen here for Min. Min comes into Sheldon's HOH room, and she asks him, "Hey, I've something to ask you, Sheldon. I need to ask you, right?" She says, "I want to know why Brooke went to Vanessa and told her to throw the veto. I want to know why that happened, Sheldon." And Sheldon says, like, just straight up, "I don't think that happened. I straight up don't think that happened." And she says, "No, it did happen. It did happen. I heard it. It did happen. I want to know, why was there a need to do that? Why did she need to throw this veto? Was it because you didn't trust me with the veto? Like, what's going on, Sheldon? Why did that happen?" And Sheldon's like, "I literally just told you I don't think it happened. It at all. To be clear, this didn't happen. It's not true. Vanessa made it up and told Min about it. Because she's Vanessa." I don't even know that Vanessa knew she was lying at the time, but it didn't happen. So Sheldon's like, I just told you, I really don't think that happened. And Min says, "What do you mean? That happened. It's factual. I was told this information. It's a fact. It happened." And Sheldon's like, "What? Do you think I'm lying to you? Like, what are you saying? I'm telling you, this didn't happen. I'm not lying to you right now, Min. Listen, Min, this is going in circles. Just, it's good that you're here. Let me ask you a question, Min. Why did Michael go home?" She's like, "Why are you asking me a question? I came here to ask you a question." And he's like, "I think you want to talk to me about this and not about what you're talking about." And Min's like, "Okay, why did Michael go home?" Because he didn't socialize with anybody. He made a 4-person alliance. He didn't socialize with anybody. He's like, "Yeah, he had a 4-person alliance, and that's why he was targeted and sent home, right?" She's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Okay, so why are you telling people that I have a 5-person alliance with Jamar and Hira and Sue and Brooke?" And Min says, "What? Hey, no. I never told anybody that. I absolutely did not say, I genuinely did not ever say that. No. Somebody came to me and said that. Vanessa." She didn't say Vanessa. I'm just telling you guys it was Vanessa. Sheldon says, "Well, who came to you and said that?" She says, I don't remember." He's like, okay, you don't remember. Okay. Well, look, the point here is that you've been going around and telling people this, and that's not okay. And she says, "No, I didn't tell anybody. I told you. Somebody told me." He says, "Okay, well then who told you?" And she's like, "Oh, Carol told me." I'm going to give you the sort of like explanation for this. In this conversation, Sheldon is explaining to Min why events unfolded in such a way this week that he's deciding to put her on the block. Almost all of those events stem from Vanessa leaking information to Min. The person that he's really worried about is Vanessa. He doesn't realize it, though, because he's taking actions that were taken by Vanessa and putting them on Min because Vanessa has blamed Min for all of her actions, right? So he's asking Min about these things that she supposedly did when really it was Vanessa. And so this is Min's opportunity to be like, it wasn't me, it was Vanessa. But there are two problems. One is that Min is far too loyal to Vanessa than she should be. And two is that she is a little bit guilty of the things that Vanessa did, but Vanessa was way worse. Vanessa told way more people and revealed a lot more information. But then when she did that to Min, Min revealed a little bit of that information and is a little bit guilty of some of the things and was aware of all of the knowledge that Sheldon is talking about because of Vanessa. So when she says, okay, it was Carol, she's helping protect Vanessa because Vanessa is her number one. And so she's trying to pawn it off. She's like, I need to do anything I can to save myself now. I'll pawn it off to Carol because I don't care about Carol quite as much. But the problem is that from Sheldon's perspective, Carol, there's no way that Carol could have known this information. So it just doesn't work. Like, for one thing, Carol doesn't know the information. The second thing, Carol doesn't make up information like Min does. So when Sheldon hears from Min that Carol is the one that told her, he doesn't believe it. He thinks that Min is making it up, just like she made up this 5-person alliance. If Min had said, Vanessa told me, I guarantee you the light bulb would have gone off in Sheldon's head and he would have realized Vanessa did know this information. We told Vanessa this information. And if Min is saying Vanessa told her, then that must be where it came from. That must be where it's spreading from. And Min is adamantly denying ever spreading that information. She just says that she was told that information. And so Min is really missing out on an opportunity here to change the narrative in the house, or at least for Sheldon, by protecting Vanessa because she trusts Vanessa, when in reality, Vanessa is almost like 90% of the reason that she's being targeted this week, because Vanessa completely threw her under the bus to blame her for everything that Vanessa was doing. So this is really one of those tragic situations of Vanessa just like stabbing Min in the back over and over and over, and then Min being like, I'm being stabbed in the back, at least I'll protect my one ally, Vanessa, who surely isn't the one stabbing me in the back right now. Oof. It's rough. It's rough to watch. So she says Carol. In fact, and Sheldon says, look, I heard that you told Carol, and other people. And so, look, if I also heard, Min, that you have been going around to Chris saying that I was going to backdoor him. Is that true? And she says, no. He says, I don't believe you. People have told me, and I trust them. She says, you need to believe me. I'm not the culprit of that thought of you being in a 5-person alliance. I'm not. I didn't do it. So Shell says, look, if I bring these people up, are they going to tell me that it didn't come from you? She says, sure, bring them up. Do it. Let's come on. He says, Min, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. She says, okay, hold on. I may have said to Chris that, like, maybe it's a possibility that Sheldon might nominate him as a backdoor. But, like, what do you... I was working with Chris. I'm working with Chris, okay? Of course I'm going to tell him that. He said, well, where did you... That's not even true. Where did that come from? Vanessa. Where did that come from, Min? I don't know. I heard it. Min. She says, Sheldon, I'm so effing annoyed right now. I don't think it's fair of you to have this impression of me, Sheldon. I don't think it's fair. You're taking these things that people are saying about me and you're believing them, and you didn't come to me earlier about this. You're now just coming to me now, and you already have this impression and you don't believe me when I'm telling you things. This is not fair, Sheldon. Sheldon says, I think it's fair, and I think it makes sense. I think what you're saying is fair, and I think what you're saying makes sense. Do I still think you're lying to me? I do. I'm sorry. The fact is, I don't trust you. And here's the thing. I know I told you that I'm not putting you up, but I'm thinking of putting you up and just letting the House vote how they want. And Min is just like, you can see it in Min's face. She's being told out of the blue like this, that's it, your game is done. And it's a shock to her system. And she's just, I'm so upset right now, Sheldon, because I worked so hard to be here, and I didn't think you'd do this to me. She starts crying. Sheldon's, look, I love you. I really do. And I know you're not going to give a shit about that. And I know things won't be the same after this. I just think that this is smart for me. And it's not personal at all. And I'm not going to campaign for you to go home. But this is what I got to do. If you can prove tomorrow that you didn't say these things, and she says, look, I didn't say these things. You've been influenced by what you've heard. I'm going to use the word influenced, right? You've been influenced by these things that you've heard that are not true. And you think that I'm working with people that I'm not, you don't know who I'm working with. And Sheldon says, Min, if there's ever a time for you to tell me the truth or anything, it'd be right now. You sound a bit cryptic right now, Min. If there's ever a time to tell me information that could change my mind about this, now is the time, because you sound very cryptic. And she goes, okay, just let me ask you a question. I want you to answer honestly. I want to be here. I don't want to leave. And if you put me up, I feel like I might leave. And I don't want to go home. I feel like you're telling me you're evicting me right now. That's how I feel. I feel like you're telling me I'm going to be evicted. I'm willing to build a relationship with you right now where we both lay our cards out on the table. I feel like I've been duped. And I've been played. And so I'll clear the slate and work with new people based on this conversation, Sheldon. But we both need to lay our cards out on the table. I can tell you everything in this game that I know if you guarantee me you won't put me up on the block. She says, Min, I just don't trust you. Drama follows you. Lies follow you in this game. I'll say it again. If there's ever a time for you to tell me the truth about who is telling you these things, now is the time. What does she do? She names John Luke. She says, okay, well, John Luke told me. John Luke told me about the Chris thing. John Luke has said these things. We had a deal, and he was so, I didn't put a single ball in his tube, and he was really grateful. And this is the truth. She did have this relationship with John Luke, but this is a relationship of lesser value than the one with Vanessa, and so she's throwing John Luke under the bus instead. And obviously, again, this information is coming from Vanessa. John Luke doesn't know this information, so it's not possible for him to have been the one to have told her unless he's making stuff up, which Sheldon just... If it's a contest between who do I think is more likely to make something up, Carol or Min Lee, John Luke or Min Lee, Min Lee wins that contest every time. So she throws Jean-Luc under the bus. But again, there is a little bit of truth to this, and I do wonder if it will get Sheldon thinking about Jean-Luc, because Jean-Luc had just been talking about how he never talks to Min, which is also true, but he was kind of leaving out the part where when he does talk to Min, they do talk game a bit. Now, that said, Sheldon's been prepared for Min to throw out lies, and so I don't think it will damage their relationship, but between Sheldon talking about Jean-Luc being in such a great position, and now Min Lee explaining her relationship with Jean-Luc right after he was talking about all of the stuff that how he never talks to her, I think that he will be a little bit more skeptical of him moving forward, but I don't think it will really change much. But good to point out. She also says, Maddie told me too. Maddie also told me. She just keeps dropping names left and right. Any name but Vanessa's. And I'm just like, God, why? I was waiting for this moment where she name drops Vanessa because she must see it. They must see it. How do they not see it? How do they not see the children stacked up in a trench coat? Or the ditto, or whatever you want to call her. They just don't see it. So she's not exposing Vanessa. Sheldon's not seeing that it was Vanessa. And the conversation's it goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. And I don't think it can go anywhere until she names Vanessa. And I don't think she will. It doesn't seem like she will. So that's that. It goes around in circles for a little while longer. Sheldon continues to say, "Look, I just don't trust you. I just don't trust you. I think that you're lying to me, and so you're going on the block." The thing is, I just don't think anybody will care. I think that you're the most expendable person in the house right now. And I think this is the best move for my game. It's like, you think you're making this big move by taking me out of the block? Look, Min, you don't know me. You don't know me in this house. You don't know what qualifies, what I think is a big move, what other people call a big move. I don't care. I'm just making the move that I think is right for my game right now. And that's it. That's it. So that's the day. That is the day here. And that's where we leave off. I can tell you that this morning, Min has immediately set off trying to campaign. Sheldon does talk to Brooke later in the night, tells her about the conversation with Min. But again, I'm not going to put in every Brooke Sheldon conversation because there are far too many. But the point is that Min is now out there campaigning. Jamar has started to get annoyed about this. Actually, Jamar has been popping off a little bit to Sheldon about like, hey, I'm gonna go rogue if this doesn't change. If we don't go after Chris and Kyle soon, I'm out. Solo dolo. But that's for another day. That's for tomorrow. So don't worry. All right. So that's what I have for you. That's what I have for you today. If you have any questions in the chat, please let me know. We can answer a couple of questions before we wrap this up. But I will be live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens on the Big Brother Canada 8 live feeds. Tomorrow night, we'll be live with the Roundtable, 9 p.m. Eastern. That should be very fun. We're going to update the ratings for all of the house guests. Should have a lot of movement from what we've seen. We'll talk about the stock watch and all of that. So that should be a lot of fun, as well as, of course, the week on the feeds and discuss everything that's been going on, which, again, there's quite a lot, so it should be interesting. And then Thursday nights, we will be back with our eviction recap. If you did not listen to last night's recap with Anthony Douglas, then you are a fool, and you must go back and listen to it because he is a great guest. podcast, and we had a really fun time talking about the episode. So make sure you check that out. And also, yesterday morning, I talked with Jess, who did a great job on the update, and it was a very informative update. We had a lot of information packed into that one that really described the changes that were happening and why. So I recommend checking that one out as well if you haven't. So check all that stuff out. Let's see here. Let's see. Do we have any questions here? Let's see. Do you think Vanessa will get exposed as the one who tanked Min this week? I mean, it's given Min's reluctance to name Vanessa, it seems like she might get away with it. If there was ever a time for Min to name Vanessa, it would have been last night to Sheldon. Maybe, here's the thing. Here's how Vanessa gets exposed. If Vanessa is not able to play to Min and convince her that she is still on her side, then Min might start to expose Vanessa. If Vanessa tells Min, I'm sorry, but I'm not voting for you, then she might decide that's when she needs to expose Vanessa. But part of the problem might also be that Min doesn't realize how much the information about Vanessa matters. Like, obviously, she doesn't know that Vanessa is in a secret alliance with Sheldon and that he will really react to hearing about Vanessa being the one that leaked the information. So, she, like, I don't know. I think it's still very much up in the air. It could go either way. Vanessa could be exposed. She might not be exposed. It might change things. It might not change things. But we'll see. We'll see. Taran, I can't keep track. Whose side is Sue on? Sue is on the side of KVBS. She is a firm KVBS worker. She should truly be the fourth member of it instead of Vanessa. She is more loyal to that alliance than Vanessa is, and she's not even in it. So she's loyal to Sheldon. She's loyal to Kyle. I think she's more loyal to Sheldon than Kyle. In fact, I think she is the most valuable piece on the board for Sheldon and Brooke right now, apart from perhaps JL, who is perhaps going to be able to keep him safe with Maddie and Ree. JL did tell that to Sheldon, that if Maddie or Ree won, he would be in their ear to make sure that Sheldon and Brooke do not go up on the block, which they're not. They're already not inclined to do, so that shouldn't be too hard. That's what side Sue is on. Let's see here. Who's my favorite player so far? Vanessa. She's just an endless stream of entertainment. Like, it's not. How could you not? Let's see. Who do I think will make the largest decrease on the stock watch? I don't know. I've been suspecting JL for a while, but yesterday wasn't the best day for him. But I think probably JL. I think he's improved the most over the last week. Would Sheldon put Vanessa up if Min ratted her out? I don't think so, but it's hard to know, because if Sheldon realizes the true extent of Vanessa's duplicity, it literally changes the entire structure of how he sees the game. And so literally anything could happen at that point, in my opinion. Let's see. Sue isn't loyal to Chris. I don't think she's particularly loyal to Chris. No, I think she's more loyal to Sheldon. But I think that she likes Chris because she feels that Chris likes her. That makes sense. But no, I would definitely not say she's more loyal to Chris than anyone else. She does not particularly enjoy all of the touching. There was a funny moment actually yesterday where they were out in the hot tub and they were like playing with pillows, like kicking them back and forth. He like put his arm around her and she just instinctually like jumped back and then was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." So that was kind of funny. Who votes for Min to stay? Honestly, probably nobody. I don't think there's a single vote for Min to stay as of right now. Yeah. Let's see. Even if Sheldon is extremely unemotional, he said he's aware of it. If he's actually as logical as we think, shouldn't he take into consideration that others are still playing emotionally? Yes, 100%. And I've always hated the distinction between logic and like emotion as if they're two separate things, because the point of logic is that it should be able to encompass everything, including emotion. But it's just a very easy way of describing things. And I think that a lot of people do fall for that sort of false dichotomy where they think that being logical means that there can't be any emotion. And I do feel like Sheldon sometimes falls into that trap. He does recognize that there is emotion. And like I said, when he talks to Brooke and Brooke says, but think about the individuals, he thinks about it and he's like, oh yeah, you're right. There is emotion involved. And when I think about that, it looks a little bit different. But, you know... I just think that he sometimes he's too focused on the non-emotional stuff. It's not that he's not emotional or that he can't understand emotions. It's that there is, you know, it's a like sort of controversial sort of concept, but like emotional intelligence, right? If you consider emotional intelligence to be like a real thing, which, you know, who knows? But if you consider it to be a real thing, then, you know, somebody like Anthony, who we talked to last night, who is able to understand people's motivations and manipulate them with their emotions, like he has a really high emotional intelligence. He's really able to not only see and identify, but work with and manipulate with emotions. Sheldon would have like a low emotional intelligence. He has trouble predicting people based on emotion, and he has trouble understanding how to influence people using that. It doesn't mean that he isn't an emotional guy. You know, he has that conversation with Kyle. He does have emotions, obviously, but expressing them is hard for him, and understanding them sometimes and knowing how to deal with them is also hard for him. So that's the deep flaw in his game, because it's a very emotional game. So that's my read on it, at least. Wouldn't Jamar be pissed that Min is being evicted, or is their flirtation just a distraction? It's just a distraction. I mean, Jamar does not work with Min. Min has made it clear that she will put Jamar on the block if she can. She's targeted Jamar. She's poisoned people against Jamar. He's not particularly like dying to keep Min in the house. That said, like I said, this morning he is raising a bit of a fuss about Min leaving. I believe I heard him say that she's disposable, but now isn't really the right time to dispose of her. So I think he recognizes that like she's not terrible for his game, probably, but he's also not super concerned about her leaving, because he doesn't really know where her head is at. So let's see, one more. Let's find one more question if I can. Do I think getting out Min is the right move? Like I said, I've been thinking about this. I've been going back and forth. I think getting Rianne out is probably the right move, but I will give Sheldon some credit here. The work he's been putting in with JL, what I'm hearing from Rhea and Maddie is that he will not be targeted by those three. He might be able to pull those three in. And if that is the case, if he does succeed with his plan, then this might be able to work out in his favor. However, the information he does not know, the really big thorn in his side that could really ruin everything for him, is Carol and Vanessa. If they get what they want, then they could blow up this whole game for Sheldon, and he does not see it at all yet. So that's really one of the main things for me that's pushing it into the territory of I think this is maybe a mistake here. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Again, you can find me tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother Canada 8 live feeds. Should be an interesting one because Min is going around and campaigning for her life. Jamar is upset, and who knows? She might be able to throw Vanessa under the bus if she realizes that she should. So you never know. You never know. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. And thanks for joining me. See you next time.